You know, every time I open up Steam, I always end up looking at my wish list to see what kind of games are coming down the pipeline. And today I thought I might just jump in and show you guys 6 games that are actually releasing pretty soon. And actually one of them is even releasing today. So my wish list is almost 300 games deep at this point. And I thought, why not just show you guys some quick games that are coming down the pipeline, as well as maybe in the future, give you guys a list of all these games and why I've wishlisted them in the first place. So stick around as we go through 6 of my wishlist games on Steam. Coming out soon. Now, starting off with game number 1, we're starting with a game set in like the 90s and survival horror. I love that classic survival horror type game, and this game that I'm about to tell you about, it actually has already come out one time before because this is actually a sequel. And we're talking about the game Tormented Souls, the 2. Now, this Tormented Souls 2 continues the story from the first game, but it seems like maybe there's just some new stuff going on, and I'm not really too sure about what exactly is going on. But our character is basically going through much like a Resident Evil game, and you're finding puzzles, you're battling enemies and whatnot, but at the same time, you are utilizing weapons that are not your typical kind of weapons. Think more Dead Space and less, you know, Resident Evil guns. You have a nail gun and other parts of other bits that you're putting together and crafting these weapons that are a little bit different.
My name's Caroline.
You don't look like one of the locals. My name's Miguel. I'm looking for someone too.
Now, what I'm very excited about this game for is the fact that it is very close to the Resident Evil kind of idea of puzzles and story and all that kind of stuff. And the first game was fantastic, so I highly recommend that you guys check it out. Now, the graphics look amazing. It gives a little bit of Silent Hill at the same time in various cases, and the enemies look great as well, as they're all wild looking at times. Now, game number 2 is actually something maybe you have an idea about before I even really dive in here. And I'm talking about a game much like Sea of Thieves. Now, you remember Sea of Thieves? You're on a ship, you're in the oceans, you're a pirate. What if Sea of Thieves didn't have any ocean? What if actually we were on the land, and instead of a ship, maybe it was a giant mech on sand? And that brings us to game number 2 here, and it's called Sand. Now, if you know anything about Sea of Thieves, you kind of already have a mindset of what this game's gonna be like. We are on these giant steam coal mechs that you are essentially rummaging around this land of sand and fighting other players for resources and crafting and building your own ship from scratch if you choose to. Now, I did play the demo of this game, and it was fantastic, and it's gonna release sometime later this year, and I don't really know when, but it looks beautiful. It didn't run super great in the demo, but I was also pushing it into an ultra-wide monitor, and I was really pushing it to its limits to test it on my live streams. And if you guys want to see me on twitch.tv/activator, you're welcome to come by and check out the live streams at any time. The description from this game shows that it is an alternate 1910 where you scavenge the sands of Sophie in towering tramplers. Tramplers are these big mechs. Build your highly customizable walking base. Now, this part is super cool because your whole base is mobile. It is your ship, but it is your walking trampler. And there's various sizes and weights and classes to choose from. Now you can actually squat up here or go solo. You'll gather loot, weapons, precious artifacts, and then you'll be clashing with other players in a brutal, procedurally generated desert forged by history and chaos. Now that comes from the description here, so who really knows, but I'm very much excited, and the trailer has me pretty excited for it as well when I watch it. And if you like Sea of Thieves, this might be a game for you. Speaking of games coming out soon, I actually have another game I wanted to show you guys that comes out tomorrow on the 24th of October. Now, if you're anything like me, you probably like Silent Hill, and you probably really like something like Resident Evil 7, that first person horror vibe, which has that kind of realistic graphics and look to it. Game number 3 here is called Bleak Haven. Now, they had a demo out of this game and I played it, and it was really fun and intriguing and had my brain thinking about what's going on. You're essentially this guy traveling to an island to, I believe, go get and find your brother. This island doesn't want to let people leave. Bleak Haven says that it's a cinematic survival horror where faith is twisted, every shot matters, and survival hangs on what you can build. Explore haunted ruins, abandoned villages, and face a cult preparing the world for a god no one should ever witness. Now, this game has some really wild looking characters and some really fun visuals, so I highly recommend you check this out on Steam. Now, again, these enemies are wild. They're all types. They're kind of split open. I don't know if they're mannequins. I think they're like body parts put back together into a person. It's a little freaky. And if you've ever played a game like Condemned Criminal Origins or Resident Evil 7, you might get an idea of what this kind of game looks and feels like. But at the same time, these enemies are just so wild, you might think that you're playing Silent Hill. You might think that you're in the forest or something like that, where you have these random weird enemies, but also this crazy dark looking world to be in, surrounded by fog. Now, if any of these games stand out to you, comment down below. Like, I want to know what you guys think from these, because they're games that I want to play. Now, game number 4 is going to be a complete left turn here. We're going into a city building simulation set in the post-apocalyptic world where there's no land. You're on the water, you're in the ocean, and that's this game, All Will Fall, where every structure can collapse. Your goal is to master a unique physics-based 3D construction system, create a sprawling vertical settlement on water, scavenge for resources, explore the ocean, and ensure the survival of your colony by making difficult yet necessary decisions. You're going to be given these moments where you got to choose kind of one way or the other in what to do for your colony. You're essentially building your world up, but at the same time, the water level changes heights. So sometimes you're able to go in where the water used to be, and then you got a storm coming in and it takes you right back up, and you got to get everybody up. So you build houses, resources, you got engines and all this stuff to really get your colony working. You got to get food, you got to get shelter, you got to have housing for all your people. And at the same time, other roaming ships and stuff will come by and cause a little bit of a stir. Maybe a lone person on a boat, maybe it's a whole family, maybe it's a ship. You don't know, but you got to deal with it for the greater good of your colony. Because sometimes maybe food has run out. Maybe you don't have the resources to house some of these people and got to send them packing. But do you take their supplies? So now they actually have a demo that you can play right now, and it's an updated demo at that. Go check it out. Fantastic game. Learn to mess with physics and keep your crew alive as you continue progressing and learning new abilities and things to get you bigger and grander of your post-apocalyptic on the ocean world. Now, you may sense a little bit of a theme here when we get to game number 5, and we're going back to a survival horror element. This time, let's take it back even further with the classic Resident Evil games. Fixed camera perspectives, and much like Resident Evil 2, this game has 2 people as well, I believe, that you can play as. Game number 5 is a game called Echoes of the Living. Set to release on Halloween, this game is your classic survival horror. Zombies, it'll be in early access, but I'm excited for this game because it looks stellar. It has everything that I've come to love about the old Resident Evil games. You have a third-person perspective game where the camera is more of a locked-off image for you to roam your character around in. And the game looks fantastic. You're shooting zombies, you're solving puzzles, You have these two characters, which I don't know their backgrounds and I don't know what's going on, but they're zombie dogs. It's so similar to what I'm used to seeing in my brain when it comes to Resident Evil, but made for today by, I believe, like an independent company. Now, are both characters playable? I believe so. Are they in the same story, in the same timeline, like Resident Evil 2? That I also don't know. But you have Laurel, and you also have Liam. Now, Laurel is a police officer investigating the fate of her father. And then you have Liam, who's an ex-Special Forces member, who's arriving to town where he's about to move in and start a new life with his fiancée. Now, again, with the fixed camera perspectives and the classic tank controls, I'm excited to learn and figure out all these puzzles and save rooms and backtracking and just all the stuff that I come to love about Resident Evil games. All right, game number 6 is something sort of different here at the same time, but we're still in the third-person perspective world. However, now we're going to the snow. And it's much similar to a game maybe you're used to seeing like DayZ or The Forest and survival games, where essentially you are a character embarking on a journey of survival, but you also get a companion. Permafrost is a game where you embark on a brutal journey in survival in a perpetual winter. You hunt and gather resources for building, utilize deep survival mechanics to craft your way through a harsh, unforgiving landscape, and you forge alliances or dominate the remnants of humanity in this chilling open world saga. Now what's crazy is this giant thing up in the sky is the moon, but it has exploded, which triggered a global disaster. This explosion from the moon reshaped the world, leaving behind a chilling wasteland known only as the Permafrost. Now there's base building, there's resource management, and you get this dog companion, which is a rescue dog. The rescue dog serves as a canine early warning and faithful companion, utilizing its keen sense of smell and awareness when roaming the wilderness. Your canine companion also helps you carry items, which is fantastic. Who doesn't love a walking mobile backpack? Who's a good dog? I assume he's a good boy. Now what's cool about this game is you will need to upgrade your gear and your skills and your talents to learn how to traverse the world even more so. That's the fun part of this game, is all the exploration you get to do. Now you can play this game alone or co-op. I don't know how many people you can actually have with you, but the game is co-op and I'm looking forward to trying this out with maybe a friend or two. Now one thing that stood out for me when I was playing this game is the level of detail with animation and just the overall feel of everything. While walking around, I'm leaving behind these trails of snow, and I'm not talking about simple footprints. I'm leaving long trails because the snow is pretty high. So just these little details of having to hunt deer and having to chop down trees and learning your skills and getting better and learning how to build your base and campfires and all this kind of stuff is a blast. I put so many hours into the demo when it was available, and you can actually request access to the playtest right now if you want. Now this game releases at some point later this year. I don't really know when, presumably maybe around wintertime when the actual winter's kicking in and you can play the game Permafrost to be in the winter that you're living. So I'm going to check that game out as soon as it drops. I can't wait to play it. Now from the demo, I really enjoy this game and I can't wait for the full release to drop later this year. So there it is. 6 games coming out, but 3 of them coming out really soon. You got one today, Tormented Souls 2. You got a game tomorrow, Bleak Haven. On Halloween, you got that scary Echoes of the Living to live out your Resident Evil classic survival horror fantasies. Now, are you excited about any of these games? Leave me a comment down below. I want to know what you're already kind of vibing towards. Maybe in the future, I'll put together more of a list out of the 270 plus games that I have in my wish list and tell you guys all about why you maybe want to be interested in these games. I'm going to go jump into Tormented Souls 2. I'm sure it's available now. All right, till next time. Happy gaming.